Buckle up, everyone, and welcome to Carpool Rugby League, a show where two rugby league tragics talk everything rugby league on your way to and from work. I'm Shano.
And I am the chameleon.
Welcome aboard, and on with the show. Well, everyone, welcome again. Thank you for being here. Griffo, welcome to you. As always, it's what an interesting week of rugby league we've had this week. It's sort of been one of those weeks where, I'm sure by after the first few games, people might have thought they were the tipping god, and then come to the end, they're like, what's going on? It's a very interesting week, a week in where teams are buying points for the end of the year. It seems like to me that there's certain teams that are banking points now. Dogs, bunnies, for example, and of course the Broncos, banking points now. Thinking about maybe what might happen come Origin. Look, I actually really enjoyed, although my tipping wasn't fantastic, I did enjoy this week's games. I did enjoy watching this week of rugby league. But as always, we've got to get to it. Griffo, what caught your eye?
Yeah, what caught my eye was a large warrior by the name of Halasima.
Yep.
He, well, I'm not sure. He ran about 60 meters. Maybe it was more than that. He was out on the wing. He's a forward, back rower. But I think they had an injury or two. He found himself out on the wing. Ball got to him. He beat one of the five Inu brothers.
Mm-hmm.
He Bull of the fullback come across. He beat him, and then he just pushed away from Jack Bird. It might not have been in that order, the last two, but he ran a long way to score. He was very animated. There was some talk about he could have gone around a bit closer to the post, but guy was excited. It was a great try. He's had big raps on him for some time, and he's a weapon for the Warriors. That was the one thing that most caught my eye. I want to mention the goal line defense of the Dragons. I was really impressed by that against the Melbourne Storm.
Weren't they hard? Like we've often over the years talked about the Dragons being really soft.
We criticised them a lot.
And Dragons fans have a fair call to if there's a voodoo doll of mine out there, voodoo doll of me out there that they're sticking pins into. I couldn't believe how hard they were. They just bashed the day. Look. To be fair, they bashed the shit out of them. It was like, if we can't beat them in skill, let's just crack them in hardness. You know what they reminded me of, Griff? The Sharks, the year they won the premiership. Early on, they got a few very good wins, and they got them not because of skill, but they just bashed the opposition into submission. And I thoroughly enjoyed watching.
Same coach channel.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is that I think Flanagan's gone, okay, well, let's work with what we got. We've actually got some really hard guys. And when I saw them play South a few weeks ago, they were trying to be cute and they were trying to be fancy and they were trying to spread the ball wide. And I think now what they're doing is they're going, okay, let's bash the daylights out of our opposition. And then let Gutherson drive our attack, because you know what, I said this to someone during the week. If you took Gutherson and Lomax, and you say, right, who's going to have the better year, you would probably have instantly said Lomax.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
What Clint Gutherson has, you know what I mean, as an individual.
I know what you mean.
What Clint Gutherson has done for the St. George Illawarra Steelers, is just outstanding. Like I take my hat off to the way he's led this club, because everyone sort of said they're the spoon. They're not the spoon the way they're playing. Like that defense was great. And I'm glad you highlighted that, Griff, because that wasn't on my notes. And I thought to myself, while I was watching the game, I thought, wow, this is so good.
Well, the other team that played tough was the Bulldogs against the Sharks. And in a game I did not give them much chance at all. And they won handsomely. So they were also...
I gave them no hope.
Yeah.
But we didn't. To be fair, we both, I think we both pretty much said.
I got 3 out of 8, so I'm a bad judge. I didn't have a great round last week. I think I was going... Well, I got 3 pretty early, and then I didn't get another one.
That's what I was saying. Like I think I was 3 from 3. And then I went south pretty quickly. Looking at this, I always like, once we've gone past the first 4 rounds, I always say there's something in now the next 5 rounds. Like rounds 5 to 10 really can shape a team, can really shape a team's future come top 8. Griffo, question without notice here, on purpose. Give me one team who you think has done well that you wouldn't have thought would be there right now, and one team who has not done well that you thought would have done better. Who's your team that's done better than you thought?
No, that's easy. A team that I watched play in the first game of the year, who were dreadful, the New Zealand Warriors.
Oh, fuck.
And I backed them for, well, not
Jesus.
backed, I don't bet, but they were my choice for the spoon.
They're mine too. I hear.
And there were 4 NRL teams that ran around at Vegas, and by far they were the worst. Yet, since they've come back to the Southern Hemisphere, they've won every game. I'm blown away by that, because I really thought they were dreadful, and they've turned it around. They've won 3 games on the trot. So they're the team that surprised me. And as I said, I had expectations of those guys. If not winning the spoon, and I did. They were my spoon choice. Not getting away from that, but I certainly thought they're bottom 4. If they don't get the spoon. The team that is lower than I expected is another team that ran around in Vegas, and they've lost 3 on the trot since that time, and that's the Penrith Panthers.
Yeah, I hear. I didn't mean to say that.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm just calling it as I see it. Like I was really impressed with what they did against Melbourne the week before. That they were poor against the Roosters. I was at that game. Very happy with the way they played against Melbourne, even though they lost. And then last week was diabolical. Obviously, flip for you there would have been absolutely.
Jeez, I was my backside resembled a manhole cover in a $2 coin in quick succession throughout about the last 20 minutes of that game. I was shitting myself.
Credit yourselves. But it was put on a platter for them.
And you know what? It's funny. I talk to Penrith fans, and I'm going to talk about the games in a minute, but I said to a lot of Penrith fans, like, in my opinion, the Leota try was a try, and they said, I don't care. Like it didn't matter. Like a few keen fans have actually said it. The last try they scored had 3 forward passes in it, and I said, okay, well that might be the case, and you make the case in point that Penrith teams of the past haven't done this. They haven't put games on a platter for at half time. I could not believe what I was watching. Not since the time since South Sydney belted the Roosters had I watched, and I just went, and I think that's what a lot of Penrith fans are thinking, and I think credit where credit's due. Penrith fans got a really bad, and you know, we live in the area, so I'm going to say credit where credit's due. Penrith fans got a really bad rap. Penrith fans I know got a really bad rap for being these people who thought their teams crap didn't stink, that they're the best team in the competition, and they were. Yet every Penrith fan I've spoken to this week has not lamented any decision in that game. They've said we weren't good enough
No.
and we deserve to lose, and 28-18 is about the distance it should have been.
Yeah, look, I did something that I don't normally do. When Jai Gray went over in an absolute, I'm trying to think of something that's soft. Let's say custard. It was a custard try.
Yeah, it was. You know what? He looked
there
up.
There was no defense.
He looked up and literally ran at the
guy
line
on the field, and over he goes. I switched the TV off.
Yeah,
that was it. I said, I don't need any more of this.
Yeah.
And not long after that, I got on to White Lotus. The White Lotus went on.
Oh, okay.
The footy went off. I saw the result. It would have been not long after full time. I said, okay, 28-18. Well, I don't get any real joy out of that. Obviously, you know, they won the second half, but that doesn't count for a whole lot. You don't get any points.
You don't get 2 points for it. The amount of times I've said that. People go, we won the second half. I'm like, where's the 2 points for winning the second half? I'd love that.
Yeah. That's like the week before. South won the second half, I think, against the Sharks. But no one was singing South's praises.
No, they're talking about crap.
Everyone knew they got hammered.
They got hammered and were lucky to get. You know what?
Similar in this game.
Yeah.
Similar in this game. Penrith got hammered, and they did it largely to themselves. And I don't want to bang on about any one player. I don't like when supporters of a team and they fill up social media with just stupid comments. But the reality is that they dropped a lot of balls, and most of those drops were unforced.
Yeah,
now, if you drop a ball because you've been smashed in a tackle,
I couldn't believe
that
gifts.
happens.
They got gifts, South. Like, South don't win at the moment. South are one of these teams, and there's quite a few teams like that. I'll tell you another team like that is the Titans. We'll go through the games in a minute. The Titans are another team. It's like their 2 points come about because the opposition are just gifting them field position.
Yeah.
And it was just.
And see, that's the absolute opposite. I was going to use the word antithesis, but I don't want to confuse people. Of Penrith Rugby League over this
100%
the last 5 years. They've won games because they've minimised errors, and their defence has been rock solid. Now, both of those things went out the window the other night, coupled with one penalty in particular, which really, I'm not blaming the ref here, I'm blaming the player. Penrith were down on the scoreboard, they were down on form, and they started to get back into the game. They got a little bit of ball.
Was that the push in the head?
Was the kick went through. Dane Laurie had no one anywhere near. I was backing him to even catch it.
Yeah.
And then the prop, unfortunately, who I'm a big fan of, for no reason whatsoever, because he had hold of the kicker. I think it might have been Humphreys.
Threw him to the ground.
He just threw him to the ground.
I couldn't believe it.
It was dumb.
And you know what? That's the kind of footy that you pull your hair out. Just on Jai Gray, I'll talk about Dally M for the moment. Dally M points. That Jai Gray is leading the Dally M points, 14. Connor Tracy, 13. Kalen Ponga, 12. Cam Munster's on 10. Jacob Preston, 9. Nickel Klogstad is on 6. Just a quick list I've got. And Jai Gray leading the Dally M points might be an interesting tidbit when we talk about the lineups coming up. We will go through the games on Friday, as we spoke about. The Rabbitohs 28 beat the Panthers 18. The Titans away beat the Roosters 12. The Broncos beat the Dolphins 20-12. That game was actually close for a significant chunk of that game was actually really close. Dragons 14 beat the Storm 8 in what I call an absolute boil over. And congratulations to the St. George Illawarra Steelers. They were great. The Cowboys beat the Raiders 30-20. The Raiders are my bogey tip team yet again. For the last 10 years, I can't tip the Raiders whether they win or lose. They're harder to pick than a broken nose for me, and it's getting frustrating. 20-6, the Sharks lost to the Doggies. Dogs were outstanding away from home. That was at Shark Park too, so that was not a good day out for the Sharks. 26-12, the Seagulls beat the Eels, and Tigers fans will if they didn't pull their hair out, I don't know what they would have done. 26-24 against the Warriors. The Newcastle Knights, well, they had the bye. So, yeah, that last game, that was actually really interesting. At the top of the ladder, Doggies are on first place with 8 points. They are undefeated. Seagulls, Broncos, Storm, Titans, Warriors, and Rabbitohs, Knights are all on 6. One loss. Would you believe it?
Is that the top 8 at the end of the 26 rounds?
No, surely not. Well, if it is, far out. That's I have no. Well, I'd be happy.
What, Shane, if it is, your bodies might
I'd
be
be happy. I'd be happy. We've got on 9th the 4th in teams that have won 2 wins. The Tigers, Sharks, Dragons, they're on 4 points. Raiders on 4 points. 13th place is the Panthers on 2 points. Cowboys on 2 points. Roosters on 2 points. And winless at the moment are the Dolphins and the Eels. Can I just say, I've got very good friends that go for the Parramatta Eels, but I have no soft spot or affiliation with them. I genuinely think they are. I can't think of a word that means you're worse than struggling. You're in all, like you're waiting for Origin, aren't they? They're a team. I remember going for South. And we'd wait for Origin. And we'd wait for Origin because we'd play teams like the Broncos where they'd have 10 players out and would win. That's the Eels. The Eels are waiting for Origin. They got 2 wins in them during the Origin period. And that's where I think they're going to make hay. Well, other than that, I can't see them winning a cracker.
Shane, I tend to agree. I know, and it was mentioned. We mentioned it last week that they don't have Mitchell Moses.
Mate, they need Sterling and Kenny.
I think they
now, even with their hips and shoulders.
I'm a big fan of Mitch Moses, but I don't think even he can. He's not going to be able to get out of what they're facing. They're awful.
Can I just say, I look at Gutherson, right, and I'm not. I thought Gutherson was good last year, to be fair. I didn't think he was playing like dirt. Jason Riles needs to be pulled in and gone, what was your thought process, mate, about letting this guy go? Because you know what? You know the other team that might be slightly on edge? If I was a Newcastle Knights fan, I would have chewed my fingernails down to the nub watching that game. Because I think, look, and I could be wrong here, but I think, I was counting them. I think that Dylan had one run the whole match. That's not good enough for a guy who needs to steer the ship. I have no idea.
Saving himself for next year, Shane.
Maybe. Well, I don't know. He's doing a good job.
He's been poor.
Mate, he'll be pristine. He'll be. Mate, he's like a new car. He's not even run in this year. You
No.
know, like I look at Gutherson and I go, you let that guy go. Like he wasn't playing like garbage. He wasn't a cancer in the club. He gave his all. He gave his heart. You've cut ties with him because you said I'm building this dynasty or this new club. Well, this new club, mate, find me a win because, like I said, it reminds me of a young boy, right? No, not even a young boy. You know what this side reminds me of? I think it was 2006. I want to say it's 2006 South Sydney side. The 2006 South Sydney side won 3 games all year. 3. And I went to all of them. All the losses, that was. Saw a couple of the wins. And yeah, and we beat Brisbane when they had 10 players out. That's the Eels this year. They're relying on Origin and players out. They are a rudderless ship. And I just don't know why. Like, unless Jason Rolls is a genius and we don't know it yet, but I just can't. Well, if I was a Para fan, I'd be sitting back going, both the coach and the board let these guys go. Let that guy go. He's at the Dragons right now, playing some pretty decent rugby league. Like, I'll tell you now, like I know they're on 2 wins, right? He single-handedly, at the game I watched against South Sydney, he was responsible. Like, he had a try assist in every try. Right? I know they didn't win the game, and there was a lot of other players on the field that led to that. And thank God I watched Lachlan Ilias play like shit for another club instead of South Sydney for once. But that was, that's not Gutherson's fault. But you let that guy go. What have you got at the club that's going to replace that? You know what I mean? Like it's like.
Well, I mean, there was a thought process behind it. I'm not saying I agree with it, but the thought process was that they were going to change the way they played. They were looking to play quick. They wanted quick players, and he didn't fit that bill. Now, one of their better players is the guy who's replacing him.
I agree.
He's been pretty good for him.
I agree. But know what? Chuck the guy in at 5'8".
Could they have found another spot for Gutherson somewhere 100%. In there, which was mooted, that he doesn't play 1. I dare say anywhere in the back line, he could have done a better job than pretty much everyone else who was out there.
He could have been in the centres. He could have been. He could have been 5'8" at this point in time.
But the reality is, he's no longer there. The fact that he's not there is part of their problem, but it's not all of their problem. They just don't have enough good players. Their roster is poor, and to a large degree, they've got themselves to blame for the way that they've signed players to these ridiculous contracts with clauses in them. I know they could change that policy, but they've lost, and I will say this in their defense, that some of they've lost 2 of the outstanding juniors coming through. Blaze Talongi's gone to the Panthers, and the Colonel, Ethan Sanders, has gone down to the Raiders. Now, those 2 guys would have seen in front of them signed to long-term deals, apart from the fact they had clauses in them. Dylan Brown wearing the 6 and Mitchell Moses wearing the 7. Mm-hmm. So Sanders thought, well, Moses is here long term. I'm not going to play 7. Talangi's thought, well, Dylan Brown's here long term. I'm not going to play 6. And they moved. Yep. And they're teenagers. And they're good. So you talk about rebuilding. Well, they're going to have to rebuild with people to some degree. They're going to have to bring in other guys. And they'll have the money to do it. Because I think Brown, I don't know if he was on $1 million already, but he was on a lot of money. And so there's going to be some money there. If I was Parramatta, I would be going as soon as, and I think they can't do it till November, but Lachlan Galvin would be the guy I would be targeting. They got money to spend. Originally, apparently, he was a Parramatta junior and a Parramatta supporter. He did eventually come through the West Tigers junior system, but he'd be the guy I'd be going after if I were the Eels. And it's not a short-term thing because Galvin's at the Tigers until the end of next year. But, yeah, it's mismanagement. Mismanagement.
Yeah. Should we talk about some football next week?
Well,
So
I think there's a few other things, Shane, and I'm always happy to talk about football.
No, please.
I just want to. We talked about this last week, and that was the saga that is the DCE.
Well, I've actually got some notes on the DCE saga.
Okay, no, talk.
So
Shane,
we look at him, right?
You're ahead
so
of
when
me.
you want to look at of course, long-standing halfback for Manly, he'll leave the club. That's announced. He's leaving the club. There's significant interest from the Roosters. Catalan's Dragons have also reported that they would be keen on signing him. I love the thing that was during the week where he alleged a smear campaign against him and reportedly pointing to internal issues with the Seagulls organisation.
Did you watch the game last Sunday, Shane?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so he wanted I saw 3 different interviews, and it was spruiking this smear campaign.
Oh, it was
3.
hilarious, isn't it?
Oh,
I love it. Like, you got Seabold.
What are you doing?
You got Seabold's manager versus Cherry Evans's manager. Mate, if I was the head of Manly, and you know what? Guys, you know my thoughts on 1AS. Yet again.
You're not a fan. Not a fan.
Like, Fajadak. This guy, and look, okay, do we all love to hate Manly? Of course we do.
I don't.
This guy deserves to finish his career at Manly with all the fanfare. At 4 Pines Stadium, it should be packed to the rafters. There should be kids on shoulders. Standing room only for this guy at 4 Pines Stadium when he retires. Yet, Manly, the board, the coaching staff can't ice this guy in to finish his career at Manly. And you know what? I actually am super frustrated over this.
I'm getting that impression because I can see you on the screen.
That's right. I've got all these screens open, and the only screen I don't have open is one of
them.
But you know, it just fucking shits me, right? That you've got a guy who has done so much for this club, who's playing great football, who played for the friggin' Maroons, and still, it's not good enough. And you think to yourself, WTF? What have we done in the management of this player where this player basically goes, well, you know what? If I'm not welcome, I'm out. It's just shit. I'm telling you now, Manly is an organisation. I know. Don't start me on their fucking coach. I'll go, mate. My wife says there's 2 types of Shane. There's normal Shane and tradie Shane. And when tradie Shane starts, there's no more. The words that come out of my mouth don't have any more than 4 letters. It's just ridiculous. Like, come on, Manly, please. You're thinking of yourselves and the organisation before the fans. Because you know what? I'll give you the hot tip, Manly. You got a shit ground. You can't fucking park anywhere. It's crap to get to. On a king tide, you can't drive there. Ask the boys. I've sit on my ass about 3 times down the bloody hill. It's just a crap piece of dirt. You know what makes it real? The fans. Every fan that turns up to Brookie week in, week out to get their banners, to cheer their asses off for this guy who got you through all the crap of the Northern Eagles, because wasn't that a great venture? Who got you through everything to come to this moment to absolutely worship a guy who has done everything for you, and you've done, and this is the way you end it. Manly, I'm telling you now, I remember there's a player for South Sydney right now who may well be shoulder and whatever, ribs, whatever, pending, be the highest rugby league try scorer in history. And why we kept him is because we started a petition and we said, this is shit. We have no faith in your organisation. We have no faith in the way you're running the club. So as a fan base, we're going to step in. I seriously think, and I seriously hope, that as a fan base, they step in and get a petition started to keep this guy at Manly. Because you know what? He deserves it. He is being one of your greatest players. He has, what he has done for Manly has been every bit akin to people like, now I know Bob Fulton did a lot afterwards, so when I say Bob Fulton, don't fucking go to town on me. Bob Fulton, Des Hasler, Cliffy Lyons, Menzies, every bit this guy has done all those things. He deserves to be a legend and retire at the maroon and white as a legend. Watson out. Fucking just
okay. Well, thanks, Shano. That's sort of an A-grade rant. We haven't heard one of those for a while. Look, I'm going to maybe present a slightly different.
That's fine.
I agree that initially, well, they botched it up. The management. There's no two ways about it that they botched it up. But, and I'm not part of the smear campaign, but
I don't like the smear.
He went on, and he sort of lost me. I was on his, I was with him.
Yeah, I do get you, Griff. I've got to be honest with you.
He was banging on, and
yeah, I do.
And it was unnecessary. Like, I was really glad that the fans cheered him, didn't boo him, because he doesn't deserve it. And then I saw an interview. I think I was watching 9, quite a long interview, and he, he was talked about how he was so happy that the fans didn't boo him, and he was quite nervous on the way to ground, etc., etc. Then he brought in the smear campaign, and then I heard another interview, smear campaign, and then I was watching the Matty John show on Sunday night, and they had an excerpt from the press conference after the game. They didn't show the whole thing, but he was banging on again about smear campaign against him. And
I hope this isn't.
Did you see that?
I just, you know what it reeks to me, Griff? This is a player management.
Yeah, well, it probably is, but he's the one saying it. So
100%, 100%.
Like,
I don't.
Should have just look.
Just shut up.
Should have said.
I agree. I do agree with you. To be fair,
I appreciate fans. Thank you.
I went myopic on my rant. To be fair, I do agree with you. Just play football and shut up.
Look, I'm here this year.
I'm here this year. Yeah, I do
I
agree.
love the club. I love the fans. I love my teammates. You know, we want to win a comp this year, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to, because all he did was throw fuel on the fire. So we had, the second series of the drama this week.
I brought up the smear campaign before my rant, and I went a bit myopic. Apologies to Griffo and listeners. The reason why I brought up the smear campaign is I think he was in the wrong way diverting himself from the real issue, which is you're not going to play for that club.
Yeah.
So just talk about how you love the club and play for him.
Yeah.
And, if you think the coach is an a-hole, then, just keep it behind closed doors, and like every other club that Seabold's been at, when he leaves it, then you talk about it.
Well, it was quite. I really, if you've got a few minutes, if you catch the what he was spruiking in the press conference, like he was just talking constantly, and he brought up the smear campaign. Seabold sitting next to him, silent. It was a very awkward situation. And the reporter started saying, "Oh, do you know who's behind the smear campaign?" He says, "No." And he said, "Well, actually, I do, but I'm not going to tell you." And it just became quite comical. But
I think...
I don't know. I didn't watch the whole press conference. I only saw that excerpt. But it probably went for at least 3 or 4 minutes of just him saying the same stuff he was saying after the on-field interview.
Yep.
I think he did himself a disservice.
I agree. I do agree. Yes.
And I think he should just, okay, I've had my say. I've made a decision not to continue with Manly. And apparently, look, he told the club this back in January. And what I've also heard is he actually asked for a release back, I think, at the end of 2023 to go back to Queensland, but they didn't grant it. So while I sympathise with DCE, I can also see that, and I'm critical of the club and how they've handled it, because they've come out looking pretty stupid by not giving him an offer and then making an offer live on NRL 360. Bad business. Both parties come out looking pretty ordinary. And if I was a Manly fan, the bottom line is I'm worried about 2025. I mean, I look at the ladder, and they are currently in second position.
This is, and you know what, mate? I'm telling you now, if this does not get fixed, they will go out the back door. They will go out the back door. They will.
They got Turbo out for 4 weeks now, so
they'll go out the back door.
Now's a good time to play the Sea Eagles, I think. Oh, the other thing, Shane. Before we get on to the games.
Please, love talking footy.
I don't know if it's actually been made official or not yet, but I haven't read anything this afternoon, but it's strongly mooted, if it hasn't already been decided, that Payne Haas is going to pledge his international allegiance to Samoa. As I said, I don't know if he's come out officially and done that. I see both sides, but I think what I don't like is seeing players chop and change which country they're representing.
Yeah, now, I think what
he's not the first, by the way. He's not the.
You know what? I'm just look. This goes to show the sad individual I am. I read a lot of NRL stuff and I take notes and blah blah blah. So ESPN said he'll make a definitive decision regarding his international allegiance after the State of Origin series, which I think is shit.
Okay.
So you know what I mean? I think that's... So he emphasised he emphasised the importance of representing his grandparents, noting his, just noting that that's something he'd like to do. Mal Meninga has responded. Basically saying, look, if you need to be fully committed to Australia. If you're not fully committed to Australia, I don't really want to pick you.
I can't argue with that.
Because he talks about national pride. I think it's really I would be saying, if I was the NRL, I'd be saying, no, I'm sorry, you don't get the affordability to wait until Origin and play Origin to have this decision. Well, you need to make this. If you want to make this decision, you make it now, and you stick with it. And my casing, and look, we've talked about this before, Griffo. My argument is he's probably made the decision when he played Origin and for Australia. This chopping and changing.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
This is a country. We're not talking about a club side.
This
we're talking about
changing of when
you representing a now. I don't want to seem as though I'm having to go at just Payne Haas, because as I said, he's not the first guy.
But we've spoken about for example, a lot of the Samoan players on this podcast where we said surely they're not a second tier team anymore. That if they want to play for Samoa, they can't play Origin. And we like on social media we got a little bit of backlash against people like Jerome Luai where we said if they want to play for Samoa, they can't play for New South Wales. And I think this is the problem. Players see the pinnacle of rugby league as playing Origin, but they want to play for their ancestry, which I get.
It's also a financial thing, Shane.
Of course it is.
30 grand a game for Origin.
Of course it is. Would Sam Burgess have made it into the New South Wales squad while he played rugby league?
He might have changed history, and Queensland might not have won 8 in a row if he was.
I'm telling you now.
And so,
you know what I mean? Like, this is what I'm talking about.
From the mid-north coast of New South Wales.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? So let's take Sam Burgess as an example. Here's a guy who came over, played for South Sydney. He if he had said, you know what, I'm changing my allegiance tomorrow. The problem's this, Griffo, and I don't mean, and please, I've said this before and people have called me racist, and I'm not racist.
No way.
The Pacific Nation players we have need to put their hand up and say, I pledge allegiance to a country. Because the England players have to do it and the New Zealand players have to do it. So let's be fair. New Zealand have to, like Sam Burgess, Sam Johnson, Sean Johnson would have played Origin. They have to put their hand up and say they play for a country. I'm at the point where you pick a country when you play rugby league. When you enter the NRL, you pick a country that you want to play for. Whether that's where you're born or whether that's where your ancestry is, and you stick to it. I know that limits what we do in rugby league, and I know that limits countries like Italy and Lebanon. But you know what? In the grand scheme of things, when Victor Radley chose England, right? A lot of people, it lit the wick on a lot of scrotum pubic hair of people who went, oh, that's unfair. You know what? He picked the country, he picked England, and he knew what the consequence was.
Well, he had no state of origin career.
You know what I mean?
This is a guy who I would think would have played many origin games.
Of course, but you know what?
And he was built for it.
The
built
guy
for state of origin.
The guy picked it. How many Pacific Nations people have played Origin now want to change the rules? How many Pacific Nations people have played Origin, then played for a second tier team, and then that second tier team come good? Well, I'm seriously at the point where people just need to start picking, who do you play for? I play for this country. Right. Origin comes from Australia. Or we change the landscape of Origin. If you want to change the landscape of Origin, that's fine. But it's got to be consistent. Right now we have total inconsistency. And we've got people who want to chop and change. I'll do a few years in Origin, and then I'll play for where my grandfather comes from. Cool. You know what? From day one, I followed the Dutch football side. I don't give a flying fuck what the Socceroos do. I followed the Oranje. And you know what? I committed to that. Because when I was a kid, that's all I did. I'm not going to play for him because I'm garbage at that sport. But I'm telling you now, to chop and change and cash grab and get the things that's not afforded to the New Zealand players who put their hand up from day one and to the British players, I think is unfair. And I genuinely think, and this is where I don't mean to be awful or racist here, I think there's some Pacific Nation players who are playing the game for no other reason than for financial benefit. Pick your side.
So there's a lot of players doing that.
Pick your side.
Just guys from there.
Stick with it. And if you are exempt from Origin, then you're exempt from Origin. That's the way it is. City, country. If you're from the city or the country, you play for New South Wales. New South Wales and Queensland. This was the tiered system. City, country goes into New South Wales. I'm sure Queensland had their thing. I can't remember what it was. Then New South Wales, Queensland play together to create an Australian team. If you are ineligible to play for Australia, you can't play for any of the other stuff. And you know what? If you don't like it or you think it's unfair, that's why we're starting to have all these other games, which are great. I love Samoa Tonga. I love going watching them play. It's brilliant. But you know what? Don't play for New South Wales or Queensland for 6 years and then go, oh, I'm going to change my allegiance, because that's not fair. Because you know what you've done, and this is where it's not fair. And people are going to go, Shane, come on. This is where it's not fair. When you were part of the Australian team, you won, you may have won or helped Australia win a World Cup, a Ashes Battle, Trans-Tasman. To then flip on that is not fair to your opposition. Your opposition deserves to know who they're playing. And the fairness in this is to the opposition. By you chopping and changing on a whim or on a dime is unfair and disrespectful to the opposition and the players you're going to play with. I'll tell you now, till the cows come home, till the day I die, every football match I watch, I wear orange. And that's just the way I was built. That's just the way I was built. We have to create a system where people do this. And I feel for Mal Meninga, who gets told this, and I think, and you know what shits me? We're awaiting his post-Origin decision. How about this? Payne, fucking sorry, you're not playing Origin. Do it now, or forever hold your peace.
All right. Well, again, I won't say that was a grade A rant, Shano, but
no,
slight rant.
Slight.
And that's okay because you're passionate. I agree with a lot of what you just said. I've got a few things that where I might have a different idea.
You know what? You are my even-killed rebuttal. If anything I say, you're my even-killed rebuttal. I love you for that.
No, it's not. I as I say, I agree with most things. But what I will say is that the current rules are that it's only if you're from Great Britain or / England or New Zealand that you can play, for any other country and still play Origin. The rule has to be changed.
I agree, and that's my point. I agree.
Yeah. So
or
the guys
open Origin
that are
up to
there at
everyone.
the moment, they're not doing anything outside the rules.
No, of course they're not.
And they'll make and I've heard this point quite a few times, And I believe it. They say they are passionate, and I'm going from the New South Wales point of view. So guys like Jerome Luai, for example.
I did not mean in a heartbeat that they're not passionate Blues players.
Oh, they're absolutely passionate.
They are 100% passionate. But the thing is,
the funny thing is,
it's the next step.
They're growing up in essentially Mount Druitt. All of them are born here. Steve Crichton was born in Samoa, but all the other guys born here. You know where Mount Druitt and New South Wales are?
I do.
They're in Australia.
And and that's the thing. Play for Australia. It's like I said, I would have loved for them to change the rules and have players like Sam Burgess play for New South Wales.
I think I won't say that anyone who's already, and under the system that we have, I say, yep, you can continue to do what you've done, whether it be maroon or blue, because that's been the rules while you've been playing. You can't change the goalposts for people who've been doing that. But what I will say is that a line has got to be drawn for the future and say that, okay, you have a choice. And I'm not talking about a 15-year-old boy, which is something I think it's sort of, that's where the rule is now, about, who you represent. I'm saying that if you come into the NRL, okay, you've got to make a decision that, okay, we realize, you've got a heritage that is wherever it is. Do you wish to represent your heritage throughout your career? Or do you wish to represent the country in which you were born, raised, and have enjoyed the benefits of growing up in? It's not a bad place. A lot of people want to come here.
And you know what?
But no one's proud to say they're Australian.
I get them.
It's rare.
I get it. Like I went, but mate, there's footage all over internet of me and my family when we went to watch Holland play India in the cricket. I wore orange, I get the heritage. And this is what, and I agree with you. You've got to stick your hand up, But when I watched Holland play, where Holden van Oranje, that's exactly what, and I think that I hate the idea of double dipping. Because if you can double dip in any situation, it's at your and the situation's detriment. There's always someone who loses out. And I just feel this is double dipping to me.
Well, it is. There's no two ways about it. But that's been the rule that these guys have come through the ranks with. So I don't, I'm not critical of any of them.
No, and that's a very fair call. And I didn't mean.
And the other thing is that a number of players who've played Origin have, declared their, whether it be Tonga, whether it be Samoa or Fiji or whatever the case may be, they've said that my international allegiance is to that country, and that's fair enough. But I'm saying for the future, the only people that should be considered to play State of Origin, irrespective of tiers, A, B, or whatever, 1, 2, 3, don't matter. You've got to say, well, I'm declaring my allegiance to Australia. And therefore, they're eligible.
I agree.
And if they don't declare their allegiance to Australia, and I don't say who they should declare, but it's in their heart. Well, if your heart says Samoa, so be it.
You know what? I'd love to see more. We've spoken about this at nauseum. We'd love to see more international games. We'd love to see more competitively. And we've said that the Origin system, as it stands at the moment, is direct selection to play for Australia.
Well, but it's not, Shane.
And that's the problem. You have hit, and you know what? You've helped me hit the nail on the head, Griff. And it's not. And that is the problem. So you either do one of two things. You only let Australians play Origin, or you
Or
change the
people who
rules
declare
wholeheartedly.
that they're,
Or you,
allegiance to the green and gold.
that's right. Or you change the rules wholeheartedly. They're
Yeah.
your two options. And the NRL have sat on their hands. I'll tell you what, when did Graham, we started this podcast, it's got to be 6 years ago, 7 years ago. We were talking about this then. This is something that has been a problem systemically in the NRL for such a long time. And yet, it comes up every year. We spoke about people like Jerome Luai last year, who I have no problem with Jerome Luai. I love him as a player. And what he's doing at the Tigers at the moment is outstanding. What I've got the problem with is the system he was put into, or the situation he was put into, where we go, a team that comes second in the World Cup is a B grade team. They're not.
Yes.
They're fucking not. Like, grow up, NRL. You wonder why you got shit happening. This is why. Start drawing lines in the sand. Mate, you got a bunker that doesn't fucking work. How about you just start working on the simple shit? Like, where were you born? Where would you like to play with? Who would you like to play with? And what's your allegiance? Like, that's the simple stuff. It doesn't take $1.3 million to work that out. It takes a conversation. And I think this is the problem. Work that out, and all of a sudden, things will become apparent. Because I'm telling you now, there is a time in space where if you're going to say anyone could play for us, well, we could have had Buddy Sonny Bill Williams play for New South Wales.
Well, he did represent New South Wales at
juniors.
At an under-19 level.
That's right, and it's just ridiculous. We know where he's a fucking All Black. He was brilliant. He was one of the best players I have ever seen live. He was outstanding. Let him be who he was. And this is where the NRL will continue to bugger it up, because they're not drawing a line in the sand. And this is yet another example of about a player goes, oh, I'm going to jump ship now. Fine. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm not saying that, that if in your heart of hearts you felt like you weren't part of the Australian team, that you can jump ship. But don't cash in on years of my problem is, don't cash in on years of state of origin where you've gotten bonuses galore that wasn't afforded to New Zealand and England, and then all of a sudden go, oh, well, I'm financially stable in the twilight of my years. I'm fine now. I'll just play for this mob. That grinds my gears significantly.
I'm getting that feeling, Shano. You know what round it is, Shano?
5. Do you want to talk about it?
Multicultural round.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, we've got. I'm looking at the NRL website. They've got different colouring in the background.
Oh, do they?
Cultural round. Yeah.
Was it black?
I'm not joking either.
Cultural round. Cultural round. Well, fuck. Be whatever you want. No, that's not fair. It just does my head in. Like, I know players are playing the game, and I know they're not doing anything that's illegal. But gee whiz, man, there's some very good New Zealand and English players who could have taken the piss and didn't for their nation, and at the moment they just look like idiots because of what the NRL are presenting. That's just my problem. Like, great English and New Zealand players who could have played the game, who could have had, who could have pulled the strings. And you know what they did? They said, nah, I am committing to my country. And if that's what you want to do it. And like I said, if you're going to commit to your heritage, commit to it from the start. Don't take the piss about it, because that's not fair. That's actually pissing on the legacy of your family. Because my family came from overseas. I'm the first generation Australian. Oh, my dad was born in Australia. That's a lie. My mum wasn't, but his parents. And you know, the perfect way to piss on your family's legacy is to start chopping and changing and stating what you do and don't want and picking what you do and don't want. And you know what? When it comes to football, they held in front of Orania. Anyway, there is a game coming up. It is Heritage Round, apparently.
No, multicultural round.
Multicultural round. Love multiculturalism. Considering if it wasn't for multiculturalism,
I'm a dual citizen myself.
Dual citizen. That's right, Malta. That's right. So
Yeah,
you know what?
So I've got. I mean, I consider myself. You know, obviously, I was born in Australia. I've
you're
only
like
ever
me,
lived
Griff.
in Australia, but you know, my heritage from my mum's side is
100%.
from Malta, and I got a Maltese passport.
100%.
I like to see, you know, like my team is the Kangaroos, always will be. But when the Malta Knights go around, you know, I like to see them win. There's a lot of NRL guys over the years who've had a Maltese heritage, most of whom were never going to play State of Origin. But you know, some of them have. Michael Vellen, the Falcon himself, Mario Fenech, who was actually born in Malta.
Can I just say he was my favourite?
But yeah, I'm for the Kangaroos.
Yep.
But if Malta's playing someone, I'm for them. But if they ever did play the Kangaroos, I want Australia to win. That's my country. And then, you know, I'm proud of my heritage, but you know, the two teams come together, just like in your case, if you know the Dutch, the Orange team, who were a pretty hot side, unlucky to go down in penalties the other week.
Oh, don't start me, Griffo.
Oh, sorry, Shane.
Fucking the Dutch and penalties go together like toothpaste and orange juice. It was fucked. I don't want to even. I
should have brought that up.
There's about 4 cases of beer out the back, already drunk, trying to remove that memory. They gave me hope. And
but they played well. It was just, you know.
You know what? They needed to not have a draw at the home league.
Yeah.
It should have been 2-1 at home. And I
do like to see them do well because my 2 daughters have a Dutch heritage as well. So always keen to see the Dutch go well in the football. But now we're talking rugby league football, and we're talking, what are we, round 5, multicultural round? Who gets us underway, Shano?
In round 5, I was about, you know what, I went a bit stupid there. I was about to say it in Dutch. It was a bit silly. 5 is the number for 5 in Dutch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In round 5, kicking off round 5 on Thursday night.
It's a multicultural experience.
So multicultural system. Well, they're local damas, your daughters. They're beautiful people. In kicking off round 5 on Thursday night, the Canberra Raiders will face off against the Cronulla Sharks, Sutherland Sharks at GIO Stadium. Raiders made a few adjustments. KO Weeks starting at fullback. Tameli slotting to the wing. The Sharks have brought in Hiroti to replace the injured Kyrell Iro in the centres. Canberra will be looking to take advantage of the home conditions, but Cronulla's backline and speed could be the difference. Look, the Cronulla Sharks have been absolutely dominant in what they do. I think I'd like to think that with the changes, this could be a close contest. I think it's not at GIO Stadium. I think this is one of the games where the Sharks are going to prove something they haven't proven to us in previous years, which is we can go away, we can win against good opposition, and the way Canberra have played. For me, Canberra are harder to pick than a broken nose, but I've got Cronulla in this one. I think it's going to be closer than what the latest scores and everything indicate, but you know, I think the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks are going to bounce back this week.
Yeah, I was really encouraged by the Raiders in the first couple of weeks, but they've gone off the boil. Poor old KO Sports at the back there. He's had 2 weeks in a row where onto the high ball he's been found wanting. They're hard to pick. You're right. I've not had overly a lot of experience with broken noses and trying to pick them, but I'm sure I have had a broken nose because it doesn't quite go the right way at some stage. But anyway, I'm back in the Sharks. I mean, they weren't great last week. And both teams are 2-2. But I just think even though the game is in Canberra, they're hard to pick, the Raiders.
I see the Sharks back line being far more dynamic.
Yeah.
I think the forwards sort of even out. I just think the back line can get the job done for the Sharks.
I'm tipping them. I've got them up. I think I've tipped them by 4. I've no confidence in it. It should be a good game because both teams have been a little bit inconsistent, though the Sharks in probably, while they were a bit disappointing last week, overall I think they've had the better form. Raiders were good in the first 2 weeks, but I'm going to stick with the Sharks. I'm not a great tipster as of last week. As I said, 3 out of 8 is not good form for me. But
I'm on top and I'm by the shocker.
No, you got 4 out of 8. You beat me by one. It went down to the last. I think. Well, I had the Tigers. Did you have the Warriors?
Yeah.
No,
I had the Tigs. It was
okay. You had South
game, and
I think probably all our other tips were the same.
Yeah, bloody.
All right. Anyway, Sharks it is for me.
Penrith Panthers will take on the North Queensland Cowboys. This is a 6:00 game on Friday at Combank Stadium. Of course, we know that the Panthers, they're bolstered by the return of their halfback, the star, Nathan Cleary. He's back for Penrith to boost him in the halves. Cowboys are sticking with the same 17 that got the job done last round. Cleary-led Panthers will have their work cut out for them if they play like last week. I think this is a great doubleheader this week. You've got the Cowboys-Panthers. I think the Panthers just need to get a win under their belt. I think that... I think this is about Penrith to bounce back. They're going to get their season back on track, and I think Panthers will secure the win.
Okay, yeah, I hope you're right, Shane. I'm tipping Penrith. I'm not confident. Obviously having Cleary there gives me more confidence than what I had last week, but they've got to improve their defense and they've got to improve their ball control. The Cowboys do have some dangerous players. I was very disappointed in their form leading up to last week, but they did well to beat the Raiders. So they were pretty good. Any side that's got Dearden and Drinkwater has, try scoring potential. They're 2 very, very dangerous guys with ball in hand. And Dearden's a good defender as well.
Can Penrith, I say my apologies just then? I did I missed one of my sentences. Brian Toto out.
Yeah, he's out. Yeah, big loss.
That's massive. That is a massive loss for the
hamstring. He's out for estimated 4 weeks.
That's massive.
To go along with his.
Because you know what? Can I say? Teammate. I felt last week he was the best Panthers. Is the best Panthers player.
I think the week before he was.
Week before, sorry, yeah. Last week I thought. In the last couple of weeks when he got slammed in round 2.
Yeah,
and he got unfairly because Jesus, that guy's bled black
There's a few
pink,
colours there.
like licorice, all sort, whatever. He's bled that for that club, and the last 2 weeks he's given the middle finger to every critic, going, "Bugger you," and I think he's been brilliant.
Yeah, he was very good.
He's going to be missed. So that means Tago, Alamotti on one side, McLean, Jenkins on the other. What does that do, Griff, to the Penrith side? You know this side better than anyone.
That says that the Cowboys will be directing their traffic towards the inexperienced side of Jenkins and McLean. Ivan Cleary usually gets things right. I thought last week there was some selections that I was thought a bit questionable. Talangi was scheduled at 14 and he dropped out of the squad. And Brad Schneider came on to the bench, and then he ended up replacing the injured Tolau, which, poor old Brent Tolau didn't have the best of games. But this week, Talangi's at 18. I really do hope that he goes on to the interchange bench because he offers versatility. He can really pretty much cover anywhere in the back line. Whereas Brad Schneider, basically, he covers halfback and possibly 5'8". So I just think it's going to be a better balance if we see Blaise Talangi come onto that bench. I actually thought he went really well when he came on against Melbourne. Obviously, Ivan Cleary wants to bring him through slowly, but when we've got the injuries that are there, I believe he's a better player than certainly some in the 17, but a number of them that are actually already in the starting back line. But that is what it is. And all that matters is the 2 points. I'll be there, 6 o'clock Friday. A little bit nervous, but I'm back in Penrith to win this one.
Well, after that, we have the South Sydney Rabbitohs taking on...
Oh, the grudge match.
The grudge match. Taking on the Sydney Roosters. So this is what can I say about this match? So the classic rivalry, South Sydney Rabbitohs versus the Sydney Roosters at Accor Stadium. Latrell Mitchell is back, but not at fullback. And this is what every South Sydney fan has said, hallelujah, about, that he is going to be playing in the centres. And Jai Gray, and I did this on purpose, Griff, talked about Daly M earlier. Jai Gray, who is the head of... who is leading the Daily M points, will keep his fullback spot. I think this is a great move, and I thought this was where it all needed to be. Look, to be fair, the Roosters welcome back Connor Watson. They lose Victor Radley. James Tedesco protocols is out. James Tedesco, no, that's not right. They lose.
Radley's out because of the concussion.
What's that?
Radley's
out for the concussion. That's right. So Radley's out for the concussion, and James Tedesco is there at fullback. Look, I think this is a really good team. Jai Arrow, question mark. Look, I'll be honest with you. As a South Sydney fan, we have Tavita Totola and Jai Arrow. Question marks on those players. However, it looks like they will play. Hubner will be in there. Sullivan, Havili, Duncan, and Mawali are the bench. Docker Clay is also in there for the interchange. It's it's going to be very interesting. Connor Watson now coming into the number 9. I look. This is a game which is just built for the Book of Feuds, and I have look. I'm I If I was a neutral fan, I'd say South Sydney because we finally have a fullback at South Sydney who plays like they're a fullback, and in my opinion, one of the game's best centres playing centre. And that's what you want. You want people attracting players in the key positions that they know what to do. Latrell Mitchell, Jack Whiten in at centres. I think that Jamie Humphries has had one of the greatest starts to the season that you could have. I think that their forward pack is slowly starting to get back into what it needs to be regarding injury wise. When I look at the Roosters, and this is no immense disrespect, but my biggest problem with them is even last week I found their 6 and 7 Smith and Chad Townsend just could not steer them around. I found that last week Cody Walker and Jamie Humphries really took the bull by the horns in a team that now has Latrell Mitchell at centre with people like Tavita Tavola and look, Totola, sorry, and Keon Kolomatangi was the unsung hero last week. I know Angus Crichton's got it in him. Lindsay Collins has been playing some decent football like Nat Butcher. I'm choosing the Bunnies, Griff. You know why, but who you got?
Yeah, I think on form, I've got to go with South Sydney. The Roosters, they had that brilliant win against Penrith, but apart from that, they've been poor. Souths, on the other hand, the Roosters 1 and 3, Souths 3 and 1, and Souths are just, as you mentioned earlier, they're banking the early season points, which really sets them up to be in the top 8. And I didn't have them there once, it was announced that Maury was out for the year and Latrell for early in the season. Well, Latrell's only missing 4 games. And they've won 3 or 4 of those 4, which I did not think would happen. And a lot of that could be accredited to Jai Gray. He's been brilliant. And of course, their new number 7 this year in Humphries. But it's been a team effort, and they've showed grit. Now, I can't see them losing to this Roosters side. Now, it can happen because we've seen it in the past where in these, these Book of Feud games, one team might have been flying, the other closer to the bottom, and the one closer to the bottom's got knocked because they get up for the game. But I got to tip the team that's in form and is actually strengthened, as you say, by the return of Latrell Mitchell in the position that I've, for a number of years, said he should be playing for this team, and that is in the centres, where he doesn't have the workload that the fullback requires. And while Latrell is a gifted ball player, he still... I'm sure Bennett will give him a license to roam to the other side of the field as well. That's what I expect to see.
Sorry, I mentioned something. Can I also mention that so Jack Whiten's been playing at left centre at times for the game's needs. He prefers right centre. So you now have Latrell playing his preferred centre position, Whiten playing his preferred centre position. That's got to actually that's got to speak volumes as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. 2 of the form players for the Roosters are their new, I'll call them new centres of Marky Mark and the toy boy Robert Toya. They've been good for him, and they're up against 2 very experienced campaigners in Mitchell and Whiten. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes, because they will come up against each other one-on-one in defence. So that's probably what I'm most looking forward to, the battle of the centres.
I agree. I've been very, very impressed with the Roosters centres and both sides, and I think that I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens this week. Well, at 3:00, April 5th, on Saturday, 3 p.m. at Combank Stadium, we have the Parramatta Eels versus St George Illawarra Dragons. I suppose key changes. Iongi starts at fullback. Sax Lomax joining in the centres. Josh Adokar, of course, is always on the wing. Clint Gutherson captains from fullback against the side that he came from. And you've got Tyrell Sloan and Mitchell and Moses Sully still in the centres. I think the Eels just is trying to seek consistency while relying. I think the Eels think they've got this dynamic backline, but they just need the consistency. The Dragons, they're aiming to disrupt Parramatta's rhythm with their aggressive defence again and capitalise on any errors. That's what they did last week, and they did that to absolute. They did that to some absolute perfection, it must be said. That and it was good to watch. You have, I think when you look at it, they're without Mitch Moses, Sean Lane, and we talk about the misses. They're without Mitch Moses, of course, and Sean Lane due to injury. Dragons, they've got, as we said, Clint Gutherson and Sully moving to the centres. They're missing Jack Bird and they're missing Francis Molo. Look, I think this could.
I don't think they're missing them, Shane. They've moved on.
Well, they've moved on.
I really don't think they're missing them.
That's true.
Both those guys, sort of
call. That's a fair
struggled to be in the top 17
That's a fair
for a while.
Call. Look, I think that when you look at either team and looking for firepower, my gut feeling tells me that the Dragons did enough last week to give them the momentum and the confidence to go forward. I've got the Dragons in this one.
Oh, everyone, I think, is going to be on the Dragons. I'm part of that. I certainly expect the Dragons to win, but you just don't know.
I tell you now, if
you think back to the end of last year when they were in the top 8, it was all, they had the destiny in their own hands and they lost against 3 poor teams and missed the 8. I mean, yes, it's a somewhat different side now. And that's the big thing, that this is Gutherson up against the club who were happy for him to leave.
Can I say,
massive point to prove.
I feel this is the hardest game of the round to pick.
Yeah, I don't agree with you on that.
What one do you think?
I might be wrong.
No, because there's a small part of me that says, there's a small part of me that says that if the Parramatta backline want to fire, they can, but yeah, I've just seen no evidence of it.
Yeah, look, I tip the Dragons, but I know that they don't always turn up, and that's the only reason I've got a chance. The flip side of, as I said, Gutherson returning to Combank Stadium for the first time, and then you've got Lomax, the former Dragon, who wanted to leave the Dragons rather than the Dragons kicking him out. He actually, I believe, took a pay cut to leave the Dragons because he wanted to play in the centres. Even though Flanagan said, you're going to play on the wing, and it was the biggest boost to his career, because he went on to play Origin on the wing and for the Kangaroos.
Do you know how many...
should be given ex-coach Flanagan a massive handshake saying thank you.
You know, kick to... I actually worked this out, and this is sad that I did this. Kick to catch ratio out wide, he has fallen through the floor.
Yeah.
I'm serious. If I was Parramatta, I'd put him on the wing, because you know what the problem is? That bullshit kick through the middle where the centres are. You got every second rower and his dog there. You've got all the other people trying to contest the ball. Mate, he needs to be out wide, flying on the ball. He's the best kick-chasing catcher in the rugby league. They need to be on the wing. At least do a trick shot and say fifth tackle, slip to the wing. He's fastidious about being a centre at Parramatta. He doesn't move. Jump outside your winger and run down the edge.
I want to give a shout out to one guy who's sort of been a little bit maligned, even by his own club and coach over the years, and that is Tyrell Sloan, who is now playing on the wing. In fact, he's sort of playing where Lomax was playing last year. He's come through as a fullback, known as a fullback, brilliant attacking player, but really struggled with the physical elements of defence. He's built himself up a bit physically, and I've been really impressed with his defence. He missed round one, but he come into the second game, and I want to, just acknowledge that, he looks to have now his position in this team, while obviously Gutherson is fullback, but he's making a positive contribution to the Dragons. And, when Gutho moves on, as he will, because, Sloan's a much younger man, it might well be that Sloan then can fill that spot when Gutho moves on. But for now, he's in the right spot for this team. He didn't obviously, kick stones and say, I want to be a fullback. He's playing in the number 2 and he's going well. Yep. So good luck to him.
I agree. I think that's a good thing. All right, so we got the Parramatta Eels, that's done, taking on the St George Illawarra Dragons. At 5:30, we got the Gold Coast Titans. Battle the Dolphins. Sorry, guys, I've just got to charge my computer so it doesn't run out. We have massive issues. There we go. Titans will once again rely on Jalen de Groot at fullback. Dolphins, they've got Hammerside Tabuai Fido, the Hammer, in their number 1 role. The Titans were
been a bit of a rubber hammer this year.
Yeah, I agree. It's not been steely at all, has it? I fully agree with that. David Fafita and Big Tino. Well, their inclusion in the side is going to have massive ramifications for the game ahead. But it's about, I think when we look at it, I actually thought that the Hammer played some very good football last week. I think that when we look, I think the big thing for me for both of these sides is AJ Brimson, Jaden Campbell, Cody Nikorima, and Isaiah Katoa. Their halves just aren't producing what we need from them. And it's causing, it's basically causing the creativity from any attacking moment to fail. Sam Verrills out for the Titans. The Isaac side, he's out for the Titans. That tells me that that you know that the Titans are slightly underdone. Tom Gilbert out. I think this is a really tough game to pick. In saying that, I saw enough in Fafita, Tino, Jaden Campbell to salvage something from this. I thought the Dolphins were valiant last week. I thought they were very, very good in the game they played and in the way they lost. I've got the Titans in a game where I may even choose to change my tip, but I think the Titans at home. I think this is made for people like Tino and I think this is made for I think Tino and Fafita will take the bull by the horns in this one, and I don't know if the Dolphins have the same caliber of player.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I do believe the Titans will win this game. We both went against the flow, I guess, a bit last week by tipping the Titans when they came down to Sydney to play the Roosters. And they ended up winning comfortably, albeit they had a few opportunistic tries, an intercept, and a ball that went to ground. But they capitalised on that. There's plenty of talent in the back line, even though they're missing Keanu Kinney and Khan Pereira. Still plenty of talent there. They've got a really strong pack of forwards, led by Big Tino. The Redcliffe side, the Dolphins, they welcome back Connolly Lemuelu, but as you mentioned, they do lose their captain, Tom Gilbert. I think is suspended. The Dolphins, they've got talent. There's no doubt, but they're struggling to win games, and you tip the Titans sometimes at your peril because you know the talent's there, but the performance doesn't always match up. But they're 2 wins, 1 loss this year, and they had the bye, so they can really go a long way towards again banking those points early in the season. I had them in my top 8 at the start of the season. And if they're going to get there, they have to win games like this against one of the favourites for the spoon. So I'm going to back them again this week.
Yeah. And that's fair call. All right. So, sorry, people. My browser's just slowing down. That's okay. On Saturday at 7:35, the 3rd place Broncos take on the 9th place West Tigers. When we look at the team list, this is at Suncorp Stadium. The team lists are as follows. We have all the usual suspects in. However, Jordan Ricky is out for the Broncos, but even more importantly, Jerome Luai is out for the West Tigers. And the way they missed him last week, I don't care what anyone says. He is back in. Jerome Luai out. It was really interesting watching their games last week. I thought for both those sides, you had one side that was able to you had one side that was able to pump up, and you had one side that sort of stayed in the game, who tried to play football, and then all of a sudden just didn't do it. But Cora steps up for Jordan Ricky. I reckon that's fresh energy to the second row. Fainu takes over at the halfback with Luai suspension. The way he's been named to play, he's got a recent groin strain. Who knows? The Broncos' adjustment to the second row. We'll test their defensive cohesion. We know they're big on this. We know once anything happens with the Broncos, it can disrupt them. The Tigers face challenges in the halves. Fainu stepping in for Luai. Dewey, his fitness, I don't know if he will or will not play. The effectiveness of especially the Tigers replacements will be critical in determining the flow for them and how they're going to play and the outcome. I got the Broncos winning. I think that their back line's just going to get them over the line. What have you got, Griff?
I want the Tigers to win.
So do I.
But I'm not going to tip them to win because I don't think they're going to win. It's a big game for Benji Marshall because they're going up to meet one of the favourites for the competition at their home ground. They'll have, I don't know, it's a 7:30, but on a Saturday. The fans will probably be there the night before, but...
Yeah, they're going to go, what's the game? Dark! Yeah. What's going on?
Anyway.
When are we playing? I'll go home.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a Sunday 3 o'clock game this week.
The Broncos are playing on Saturday night. That's not going to affect the crowd numbers because, they'll turn up the night before and then they'll see the sign. So, we're going to come back tomorrow. I think they'll probably have 40,000 Broncos fans there. And it's a test for the Tigers. Obviously, they've started the year quite well. They're now 2-2. They were two at one stage. They were second on the ladder, partway through round 3 before all games were complete. And I saw people had taken screenshots, and there they were.
As you do,
Yeah. They're now outside the top 8.
You always take pictures of your kids at the beach, don't you?
Yeah. But look, they've been good, but they could have won 4 games. They could have been 4-4. They've gone down twice narrowly at Campbelltown, and in both games they led. I thought they should have got the Warriors once they hit the lead last week, but they lose their star recruit, as you mentioned, no Luai this week, suspended, but he wouldn't have played anyway because he's got a shoulder problem.
Yeah, it's been timely. I think that's been a bit timely more than anything.
Yeah, I can't see him winning. I'm going to tip the Broncos, but if they can win, I'll be just as happy, even if it costs me a tip, because pretty much most people are going to be tipping the Broncos anyway.
That's
so
true.
Come on, Tigers.
Go Tigs. All right, at 4:05 on Sunday at 4 Pine Stadium, we have the Manly Warringah Seagulls taking on the Melbourne Storm. Our key outs, of course, Tom Drabojevic and Josh Alawai. Ole is out.
So they're missing Paseka and O'Shea now.
Josh
Ole. Stocks are being a bit stretched.
Josh Ole. Yes, that's true. From the Dalian Awards a few years ago, of course, that was quite hilarious.
Yeah. Mr.
Volandis. We trust. Ole. Interestingly, I actually heard the ABC, who I trust wholeheartedly, the ABC pronunciation of his name while they're playing. It wasn't what Volandis said, but it wasn't how it was phonetically spelt. So maybe there's somewhere in the truth lies somewhere in the middle, as my grandmother used to say. So that's where it is. Again, this is at Brookie. This is at 4 Point Stadium. Hopewadi's been named a fullback, filling in the void that's left by Tom Trbojevic. Hughes, he's listed amongst reserve, but geez whiz, if he plays, it's going to be a miracle. Look, Hopewadi at fullback will be pivotal. I'll start that again.
Pivotal.
Hopewadi's fullback role will be pivotal for the Eagles, especially organising their defence. That's what the one Trebojevic does so well. And also in contributing to their attacking plays. I don't think Hughes is going to play, so I'm not even going to talk about that. I think that Trebojevic is a massive out for the Eagles. The Seagulls. I just think that this is something that, he adds this spark and attack and organises the defence in ways in which other players do not. I think the Storm would absolutely be seething over what happened last week. My gut feeling tells me Jerome Hughes is Buckley's to none to play. He's got, when you got broken bones, that's just the way it works. I'm calling for a Storm win at 4 Pines. It doesn't happen often, but I'm saying the Seagulls are going to lose at home. Griffo?
Yeah, I agree. Seagulls without Turbo were always unlikely to win. They did beat the Raiders earlier this year at the same venue and I think at the same time without Turbo. But they're up against the competition favourites who will be fired up by the fact that they lost last week, and that's probably the worst thing that could have happened for Manly. The Storm are coming off a loss, so they won't want back-to-back losses. The Storm without Hughes, their record is far poorer. It's a bit like, the Eagles without Turbo, but I think they will get the job done against Manly, and the whole DCE saga would not be helping Manly at all. It's the one-time Battle of Brookie. We think back to that every time these two teams come together. We won't see anything like that, but I do think on the field the boys from Melbourne will take the 2 points.
I fully agree. I think that's the way. So the last game of the week at Sunday, 6th of April, we have the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs taking on Newcastle Knights. I suppose what's really interesting for this game is not necessarily who's been named in the 17, but who's probably named off that. You've got Connor Tracy, of course, the fullback with Kalen Ponga. Stephen Crichton, he's looking to play in the week. He has been very vocal in the media that he's going to play a pivotal role up against Bradman Best, who we know is absolutely awesome. Hayward and Sexton, Hayward and the Sex Bomb, they're going to be 6 and 7 whilst we have those injuries to those players. Josh Curran is in the second row. Can I just... Jacob Kiraz is named at number 23. I'm wondering if he finds his way into the side. That would be something that...
If he's fit, he will.
If he's fit, he must play. I think that when you look at the Doggies, they're a team who would be somewhat lamenting what happened last week. They would be going, well, not what happened last week. So they'd be going. They won't want to lament what happens this week, I should say, if they lose to the Knights. I think they're actually ripe for this. I think they've got some key personnel across the board. I love their interchange. Like I said, the only thing for me is if Jacob Kiraz is fit, he will play. The Newcastle Knights, on the other hand, look, they're a rocks and diamonds prospect at the moment. It's even when you look across their 1 to 17, Kalen Ponga, he's by week, whatever you do. Their forward pack's just not offering the go forward that the backs need. They've actually got a lively back line, and if given field position could produce something, their forwards just aren't doing it. So I'm actually saying the Dogs do this easily. Griff, what do you think?
Yeah, that would be the popular opinion, I think, given the fact that they're the only team with 4-0. The Dogs.
I think they're going to be 5-0.
Okay, and I think you're probably right, but I'm actually tipping the Knights. I'm going for an upset here.
Upset, love it.
I was doing my tips earlier today, and I looked at the sides, and games aren't won on paper, but the Bulldogs this week, they're already without Burton and Kickow, but they showed last week that they can win without those two, very, very good players. But they add to the list of outs this week, Satili Tupanua, who's been fantastic since he came across from the Roosters. So he's an impact player that's not there. They're a very, very solid unit in the way that they play. Newcastle, as you say, they can be rocks and diamonds in the same game even. I've tipped them. I know I'm probably going to regret it, but I think they've got, with Ponga, they've got the best guy on the field. Bradman Best is a very good player up against his state of origin centre. They were teammates for Blue last year. That's going to be I don't know if they're up against each other, but if they are, it's going to be a great battle because they're two fantastic players. I don't mind the Knights forward pack with Leo Thompson back in. Safiti is up front. They're not reliable, the team in blue and red. You can never be sure, but I'm stepping out of the conservative, and I am going for the Knights to win this. I don't expect I'm going to be right, but we shall see.
Yeah, I agree. I think that anytime you take players like Matt Burton out of the side, you have an opportunity to win. And if you look, for the Newcastle Knights, if they hold the ball, they will win. Well, Griffo, that brings us to last game of the round.
That was the last game of the round.
That was the last game of the round.
Now, a few things for listeners.
Yes.
I did hear today that this weekend is the end of daylight saving.
Is it?
Do you know? Can you confirm that, Shane?
I was unaware. I thought it was Easter, but
I did hear it this morning on the radio. Now, not everything I hear is correct on the radio, but
let's
I think it's clocks back. So Sean's back. Sean's not playing this week. The nickel clock start. But it's 1 hour back from around about 2 a.m.
Yes, it says here. Sunday the 6th of October 2024. Sunday the 6th of April 2025.
There we are. Okay, so
bugger me. I'm glad because it's freaking pitch dark when I wake up.
There you go. Get an extra, if you want an extra hour on Sunday. So, yeah, so this game will be played pretty much in complete darkness. It'll be a night game.
Yes.
And I think it's at Accor.
It is.
The other thing is of interest, a little bit controversial, but I watched last week's games and I thought, have they forgotten about the sin bin for foul play? They still bring it out for the professional foul, but Mr. Abdo has come out and said that mistakes were made last week, and guys, he said there were
High
about
tackles,
4 guys
isn't
that
it?
should have went to the bin, who didn't. So they're not calling it a crackdown. It's more a reminder for the officials that forceful contact with no mitigating circumstances, and there might have been one or two other things that were said, will result in a sin bin. And he cited some examples last week of guys who stayed on the field when they should have been in the bin.
What I've read is, what is it? High tackles, basically, bin.
Yeah, where it's forceful. Yeah, and it was to the benefit of some teams last week who should have lost players for 10 minutes but did not.
And you know what?
Reed Marnie comes to mind.
It's not even Magic Round.
No, they're getting it done without Magic. So that'll be interesting to see how it goes this week.
It's fair. As long as they're consistent.
I'm glad because
as long as they're consistent,
it seemed to be creeping back into the game.
I agree.
Going unpenalised.
I agree with you, mate.
In terms of 10 minutes, so they were still given the penalty, but there's a massive difference between just a penalty and a guy short for 10 minutes. Just ask the Raiders.
True, that's very true. And
as
long as they're consistent, that's a good thing.
Yep. All right.
Well, that's the way it was. This is round 5 of the Telstra NRL Premiership 2025. As always, Griffo, thank you again for being a part of it. Thank you, everyone, all your listeners, for being a part of it. I hope your team wins, unless you go for the Roosters. I hope you lose fucking dismally. Outside of that, thank you, Griffo, champion, and everyone, be safe and have a great week.
Listeners, just before we head away, I want to thank Shano, who had all sorts of technical problems before we came on tonight.
Mate, my computer for a little while resembled a cafe press. It didn't work as a computer. It just got really hot. It couldn't download anything, but it made an awesome cheese toasty. It was really good.
Okay. So that had
thank you, Griffo. Much
had
appreciated.
Our host a little fired up.
Maybe that's where my fired up energy came
from. It was the heat generated by the technical difficulties and the laptop that wanted to do some other things. So it did take us. Not me. I don't do anything. All I do is talk. Shano's the one doing all the hard work. So appreciate that.
Not really, Griff. You're integral part of this, and I hope that to everyone, we bring a little bit of information and light-hearted entertainment to your week, and that's what we're here for. We're here to have fun. So I hope we've done that, and thank you, everyone.
Enjoy the rugby league. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.
Take care, everyone. Be good.